All right, so welcome in to our live show today. Of course, as you guys know, one of the things we always try to do in the live shows is drill down onto a topic that I think you're going to love today, and that's XRP and the question of SEC and the update. My name is Paul Barron. Welcome back to TechPath. Today's a special day. Today is one of those days we've been planning for the last few months, and that is to launch the Diamond Circle, which we've done. We did it a week ago. Thank you to all of you that have joined the Diamond Circle. If you are jumping in here for the first time, the link in the video below, which won't be there yet, but will be soon, is going to lead you to a place called paulbaronnetwork.com. You can visit there manually, and of course, just sign up for the Diamond Circle. It's free to you. Best of all, it's going to give you guys both information, education, as well as, the number one thing, is airdrops of digital asset rewards back to our community. And it's really just our way of thanking you guys, women, children, men, all of you out there for participating here on our YouTube channel and supporting the channel. So we're going to get into that today. In fact, we're going to be doing a big giveaway today. Today is Money Day, man. It's time to rain the cash. We're going to love it all. But before we get started, let's get into XRP. Now, XRP, as you XRP Army, and I know you're there, if the Army's out there, let's just start seeing some of those comments come in. And of course, if you guys have questions today, make sure and put them in the live chat. We'll get to them as quickly as we can as we roll into the show. And then at the end of the show, we will be doing the giveaway. So make sure and stay around for that because you don't want to miss that. Let's jump to this first story. It's Ripple's fault, says the SEC on recording of XRP sales meetings. And the whole issue here is the SEC's bad timing, we're close to the discovery deadline, may work in favor of Ripple's interest. What this simply means is that the current judge, I should say, that's basically ruling and presiding over the case, it has moved this date several times. And the scenario is been one that the SEC has continued to kind of dip into the pool to try to get additional discovery evidence to be able to go into this direction. And there are many people that look at this case still that SEC is simply saying this is an easy discussion or it's an easy slam dunk for the SEC. XRP and or Ripple just traded in an illegal security, and let's just say what it is. But the fact that there is a dispute constantly on where this is going, the SEC wants to get a deeper look at what went down in key meetings that involve Chris Larson and of course Brad Garlinghouse as well as other employees. And the agency plans to use the recordings as evidence that Ripple knowingly and recklessly marketed and sold XRP as an investment contract, therefore a security. Now, there is a scenario here. This is not all doom and gloom, but the SEC argued that Ripple's conduct necessitated this motion. So they did this very late in the game, and this is where things get into strategy and chess play, I believe, with what's happening with the SEC and XRP. To a certain extent, I still believe there's a lot of things happening in the background that we do not know, like most federal cases, a lot of conversations between the attorney teams and a lot of conversations between the client, meaning Ripple, and also their own negotiation of how this may end up being a settled case. But it is one that I think we're going to need to be looking at very closely in the coming months, because coming up in November is the last date in which these types of record or any kind of evidence can be basically admitted into the case itself. So a big deal. The SEC also asked the court to deny Ripple's request to seal the transcripts of all audio and videotape recordings. The documents have the tendency to influence the court's ruling on the discovery dispute. Therefore, it had no countervailing business or privacy interests outweighing the disclosure to the public, the agency argued. And we have recently covered Ripple's attempt to stop the SEC from getting those recordings, but even XRP community friendly, Jeremy Hogan, this is Jeremy Hogan, and I watch his YouTube channel. Jeremy's been really on top of this in terms of really understand it, but he is also, it says, that doesn't really look good for Ripple. But at the same time, with the fact that this is late in the evidence scenario, and I'm no attorney, not giving you legal advice, but when you look at it, of how legal cases have been, and I've been in many of those kind of things where businesses are involved in these kind of situations, and there's always discovery and evidence that's being late dropped to try to influence the judge's opinion And that may be what Ripple and or SEC on both sides of the plate are trying to do. So it's getting very, very tricky on how this might be rolling down. This is another thing that happened, and of course, I'm sure all of you know this, that the SEC, this was something, again, that was issued to the SEC. This was back from Hogan himself. It blows his mind that the SEC is not reviewed already and is arguing the unduly burdensome that it actually has to review all these contracts it's suing about. This is basically all of the nearly 30,000 questions that were submitted by Denton, who is an attorney that's kind of taken this on. And we're going to try to get Denton on the show here for sure. If you guys know him, make sure and tag him in Twitter and hit us up over on my Twitter at Paul Barron, because we'd love to get him on the show just to how he went about pushing the XRP army into the SEC in terms of really addressing these individual retail investors of how to secure and mainly protect that retail investor. So this is pretty interesting. The original SEC filing, which we covered as Ripple's buries SEC in paperwork, argues that the RFAs, this is a request for information, impose an extreme, disproportionate, and unnecessary burden on the agency, and that the courts routinely disallow much of this. This is probably going to get a scenario. Look at the numbers that they're talking about. 100 hours responding to 254 requests. So you can imagine what this would take. Actually, it says it there, 473 days. So the SEC has many RFAs that are duplicative, disputed, irrelevant, or objectionable. So they've responded to Ripple's argument by stating they are misleading in several respects. This is typical lawyer speak that does come in when you see a mountain of evidence coming at you. So it is one of those things that will, from time to time, when you're dealing with cases like this, it's usually a chess move. It's usually rook meets knight 3 is usually that kind of move. It's an intermediate move that is a scenario that could cause the SEC to spend some time on it, even though I think they've got plenty of people and manpower to kind of defend this case. But it's going to be interesting to see how this starts to play out. Here's the key assessment, at least my opinion, and that is that this deadline is approaching very fast. I think it's November 12th. The deadline for the last evidence to be put into the case. So we're going to get, most likely, and we've talked about this before, a ruling of some sort, whether it's a fine, even though Ripple is saying that the $1.4 billion proposed fine is still ridiculous. But it will be a scenario where we're going to see a fine come in, or we're going to see a scenario where the judge rules in favor, don't hate me for this, in favor of the SEC, which that could have a lot of different kind of effects on how the SEC would be dealing with Ripple and the XRP token. So much more to come about that. But it also could be in a position to kind of get Ripple just a slap on the hand and settle the case and move forward. Here's the thing that I look at is when you're in a case like this that has so much to do with your governance token and so much to do with your strategy on a worldwide level that you either, I mean, Garlinghouse either has, he's got some stones because he's continuing to do deals around the world. And I want to just jump to this one right here, which essentially is the big one. Ripple becomes a part of the Digital Pound Foundation. So this is a blockchain company recently partnered with Bhutan Central Bank, which we've already talked about here on the show. But right here, Ripple, one of the world's leading providers of enterprise blockchain and currency solutions, announced that they are basically going to join the Digital Pound Foundation to design a path for a CBDC forward future. This is for Europe. And in the official press release, Ripple mentioned that the company will be represented on the board by Susan Friedman, head of policy at Ripple. Digital Pound Foundation aims to promote the importance of central bank digital currency in the UK. And as I've said before on this very show, is that if Ripple starts to make moves into CBDCs with a G7 or a G20 country, the UK, things are going to get very interesting because of the need that SEC has to essentially kind of protect the banking system and the finance system. CBDCs are important in that aspect. And with this movement being in place, meaning Ripple has already partnered with this Digital Pound Foundation, that tells you so much in terms of how they're forecasting the future of Ripple. So according to this DPF, a Digital Pound Foundation facilitate the UK's transition and innovative digital economy. So that's a big thing there. came nearly 3 weeks after the blockchain firm announced that the collaboration with the Rural Monetary Authority, the Central Bank of Bhutan, this was the one we just reported on in the last, I think it was the last video or maybe the one right before there. But today, over 80% of central banks, this is a big number, 80% of central banks are actively exploring some form of sovereign-backed cryptocurrency, including CBDCs. This is huge for Ripple as a company, because with that many central banks truly trying to engage in CBDCs, not that I am for that, don't get me wrong. I know it's the banker's coin. Maybe people look at it that way. For those of you who like it or don't like XRP or Ripple, the key here is that digital currency is upon us. It's real. You know, these digital credits, like in Star Wars and Star Trek, and the absence of cash is within reach now. And I think that's only going to push more and more advancements into where digital currency is going to be going, and in general, cryptocurrency as a whole. This was also in here, which I thought was interesting. In a recent paper released by Ripple, the blockchain firm termed XRP as a bridge currency. This is a bridge currency for CBDCs. So this is going to be in March 2021. The company mentioned that it's planning to support the central banks through a private version of XRP. This is the ledger that we talked about before as well. So all of this is pointing back in the direction that I have said often, and that is a settlement is going to come. Now, there's been many people out there that said the settlement was going to happen in September, then maybe early October. Likelihood we won't see one here in October. It's probably going to be after that final discovery of evidentiary content and documents, which will expire in November. And then you're going to have holidays in there. So could we see something happen right before Thanksgiving? Maybe. Courts could kind of go in that direction. Or if not, then you're talking about really early December. And if we don't get a movement, then it's clearly going to be after the first of the year, well after the first of the year at that point. So a lot of that has a good sign in the sense that everything is coming to a head, and Ripple is showing a hand to a certain extent of still making deals that are absolutely off the chart. And with this kind of deal with the UK and the central digital bank currency application, we could see something very big happening with Ripple very soon. So what does that mean in terms of the token price? Token price has been a little volatile. We have called it a couple of times throughout. We'll show you a chart of the movement with XRP as well. But I think we are in for a very interesting rise up, and I still believe very strongly that XRP will see a 5x gain over this bull run. Again, this is providing that we don't get any kind of crazy issues with the ending of this case, and hopefully if we are still. Now, so for me, remember, we do these market movers. The key here is real simple. We pull together data, we'll get together our stories, our own analysis, we put together our own proprietary data, and we go after it and really look at how we might address it. This is not investment advice for you. What we want to do is give you direction and education on how for you to go out and do this, your own investigation and your own research, and really understand and come to a conclusion that is either going to keep you in XRP, make you buy more XRP, or make you hold it. You know, whatever that case may be, in moving in that direction, I think is the key with being able to get you guys going in that future. Let's look at where XRP was. I wanted to go back to our chart here because this is really interesting. Let me kind of spread this out just a little, just to show you guys a little bit about our track record here. So we've been calling XRP for quite some time. We've been able to stay within where we see the track going. And the way our sentiment and amplification scores work is we measure a multitude of social media sources along with a lot of digital asset sources that give us both sentiment, general sentiment on the token and also in Ripple in general, and also all of the engagement around the SEC and obviously the court case. And then we look at amplification. Amplification tells us whether or not the node or network effect is being affected, because the network effect is the thing. You know, Raoul Pal talks about this a lot, and he's a big Ethereum bull. But the point is the network effect is the thing that drives amplification. We are one of the only, I believe we're the only channel, we developed this technology, this algorithm that we started building on many years ago for other retail factors. We've applied it to cryptocurrency and it's working tremendously accurately. But it gives us an understanding of where the market is moving based on how sentiment starts to move in there. So you'll kind of see here back in early September, we were calling this sideways action. We got this dip, and right here we saw the first time where XRP was truly starting to mount a position on what we call a flip, a sentiment flip, where amplification starts to outscore general sentiment. And it showed, again, right there, the track line that we were also accurate on. We were able to call this sentiment right here, and we are in the middle of calling another sentiment trajectory right now. We pulled this one just this week, and right here is what we have always been waiting for, and that is a sentiment flip. Now, there are things that happen within sentiment in general in cryptocurrency, especially as we measure it, mainly because Bitcoin is now flying at over 60,000. You've got a lot of the altcoins leading out. We just did a video on Ethereum. You got to check that one out. We're going to be doing another video on some of the alts that you can still get in on, maybe not too late, and that'll be early next week. So we've got some late breaking data on that. Make sure and stay tuned for that. But the point is when you see a sentiment flip like this on this chart, you're seeing the low end right here start to move up on this track. And look at the line of where this potential could be line of resistance right here, which is at the $1.14 mark. We see another line of resistance right here at $1.24. And then we see our last line of resistance right here at $1.36, and then a potential high at 169. I don't know if the guys are getting that chart, but I just want to make sure. At $1.69. So that is something that is, and we believe is where we're going to see this going. So what we look at right now, around and about out to October 30th, we see a low here of around $1.14 and a high right here on the $1.70, $1.69, $1.70 potential range here for where XRP is moving. So lots happening around XRP and in general. And you know, the scenario right now, I think if you are in XRP, is it a good time to buy? Is it a good time to get the coin or the token at $1.14? If I was doing this right now, and again, I will still dollar cost average and buy a little bit of XRP every week just because that's what I do. And that might be a good strategy for you. Would I go, if I was looking at trying to create a bag on XRP, I might wait to see if there's a little bit of a dip. And if you go back to the chart, there may be one right here early next week, because the amplification is showing that we could see this come back down to $1.05. If it does get back near $1, then I think there's an opportunity for you to jump in and still be able to do this. Now, granted, if XRP does move and do a 5X and go to $6 or $7, then listen, 25 cents is not an issue for me on a token like this. So it's just really about whether or not you believe in the project and whether or not you believe this is something that's going to get going and flying high. All right, these live streams are going crazy. We've been doing a lot of videos this week too, so excuse my drinking. All right, so let's jump into some things that we're going to be doing today. I want to jump over and see the Bitcoin chart just real quickly. And the Bitcoin chart is one that we are obviously following very closely because it has a lot of relative, comparisons to the rest of the market, including the altcoin markets. And again, we've been able to tag the Bitcoin market and be very accurate on this. And we are looking at this right now, even though we've seen the breakout, which is where we're going right now at 61, which is, it has flown past 60,000, which we thought was going to be a psychological number, which is why we saw this little bit of this roll right here. And we're outside of our zone right now, but we do have a high right here, which is layering in directly at where Bitcoin is rolling at, which is the 62,271 and our 64,480 high. And then here is our all-time high, which we think is around October 30th. This may be the concern of whether or not we see a little bit of a dip right here early next week, and then a reascension moving into early November, which essentially will be a place where we can move past the all-time high? That's going to be kind of the question. Sorry about that. All right, so let's get into a scenario here of whether or not Bitcoin can hold this lineup. And that is something that I'm looking at right now, which is this whole issue around new wallets on the sentiment data that we're hauling in, about 22% new wallets. When you look at holders that are greater than a year, meaning wallets that are older than a year, sentiment in that percentage was about almost 37%. Sentiment was a lot softer, meaning I think people are much more calm about that. The new wallets are a little bit overheated, so we may see a little bit of a spike here and then a little bit of an adjustment over the weekend. So for the traders who are looking for volatility, maybe there's a short here coming. We'll see how that goes. But the good point is that this layer right here, still sentiment and amplification definitely outpacing, which has caused this run up that we have tracked and been very close to accurate on where this is going. And well, listen, we called Polygon earlier this week that we were getting ready to see a pop. It did. We're calling DOT that we think is going to go to 50. Make sure to watch both those videos that'll break down each of those. All those kind of scenarios are definitely flying really high. We are going to get to some questions. Before we do that, I want to talk about Cardano. And there is a reason that we're talking about Cardano today in an XRP video. Is because today we're going to give away Cardano. We're actually going to give away and drop some digital assets in the reward format to you guys during this video. So make sure to stay tuned because we got a very cool diamond circle wheel that you guys are absolutely going to love. It's a fun one. That's why I have so many, devices up here. The crew has got me on stuff that's just like plugged in everywhere. So Cardano's price predictions: can ADA crypto rally hit 20 bucks by year end? So this is a big one. I mean, if we give away Cardano today, and the reason I selected Cardano was because it has not moved yet. So I'm hoping that when we give you this digital asset, that immediately it's going to take and create more value for it, so it's even worth more money than what we ended up giving you guys today. So some suggest Cardano could hit $20 by year's end. Given that such a move would imply Cardano is a potentially 10-bagger in the next 2.5 months. Very possible that where this is going. There are a couple of others, CoinQuora, $10 price tag, and also Wallet Investor have it at $4.59 and $14.06 respectively for the 1 year and 5 year. They're a lot softer on it than what we've seen with many people. So definitely going in that direction. All right, so let's get to a few questions before we get rolling here to give away some money. Money, baby, money. All right, so we've got coming in here, let's just take it from the top. Samira Danston. How high will Matic go up from here? Matic got a big pump. I think Matic still has room, and we believe that we are going to pull some more data on this. I am still a big proponent of what Matic is doing in general. Polygon, I think just in general, when you look at their structure, the team, just their whole track record, and a lot of people have been kind of down on Polygon because it had not moved during this recent altcoin pump. But here we are now in what could be the true altcoin season upon us. Altcoin season, I love that. And I think you got some room left. So if you're holding Matic, hold it. That's what I'm doing. I'm holding Matic for now. I think there's a big opportunity here for really continuing to rise. Funky Fresh, adding more cryptos on Robinhood and having crypto wallets will be a huge catalyst. There has been a first mover's advantage, but there comes to be better competition. I think what you're saying here, Funky Fresh, is that Robinhood, once they roll out wallet, and this is a good question because there is a situation that I believe is occurring on Robinhood. Robinhood, because I hold coins on Robinhood, and I'm slowly moving less and less stock on Robinhood and more crypto, which is why Robinhood is so advanced on where their future is for crypto. I think they're going to be a lot more involved in crypto in the future. But my point is this: is once they put the wallet in place, it's going to do one of two things are going to happen. You got, I think it's 20 plus million out there that are in the app itself. Could they look at going ahead and saying, listen, I'm going to move my money because I'm not gaining yields? Sure, Robinhood could drop into the yield business. Or maybe I just want to be able to move my money out of, meaning my crypto, if you're sitting on Ethereum or Bitcoin or a handful of coins, and or other opportunities. The other thing that could happen is if XRP gets released from the SEC, you know Robinhood is going to drop it in there, and it's going to do just like Doge. We're going to see a massive, massive pump. So I think there's two routes to that question. One, will people start to exit Robinhood? Probably not. People like me probably will, that are using other exchanges, and I just use Robinhood really to test the app, try things out. I'm not in love with it because there's not enough rewards, not enough staking, not enough yields that would draw me in on an ongoing basis. All right, so let's go here. What will make ADA Cardano go up? XRP for lovers. XRP for lovers. What a great thing, lovers. Anyway, ADA Cardano. What will make it go up? There's two things that are happening right now. I think the big one that Cardano has got to overcome is the crash course that is being put into the market in terms of product development. Remember that Solidity is the core development architecture for most of the blockchain out there. If you look at Polkadot, Kusama, look at what the parachains are doing, Solidity is the driving force behind that. If you look at Haskell, which is really the baseline of code that Charles and his team at IOHK are doing, it's, there's arguments around, and listen, that's code talk. I don't want to get into the depth of where that and what that means, but they need to get more developers. More developers means more creative projects mean more projects coming onto Cardano. All of that has to happen, and I think they've got to break loose some real, either one, grants, more money to develop and lure developers in. Something's got to shake loose there, but they're going to get some run up here just because it is a key altcoin and it's one of the laggards in the industry in terms of not in the altcoin season. So those are things I think it will need to move and go up even further. And it might be one of those things that will hold. Let's go. All right. All right. So if you had crypto, Carter, if you had 5K to invest today, what coin would you put it in? Me, personally, I'd go Ethereum. I'd jump into Ethereum. I know it's 36, 37, 3,800 gonna be, it's probably gonna be 4K by the weekend. This Ethereum, I think, I'm a Raoul Pal, fan in the sense of his understanding of how cryptocurrency works, the potential of where Ethereum is going, 2.0 around the corner, so many good things that could happen for Ethereum. It's not super risky. So if it's 5K, I don't know if that's your whole bag or if it's just a 5K chip that you want to throw in there. It's not super risky, so I would go Ethereum. Now I will give you, let's bonus that question. Let's say that that is just some throwaway money. Okay, I don't know if that's throwaway money for anybody, but if it is, now if it's throwaway money, where do you go? Now you got to get out of the blue chips and you have to look at some of the other things. First thing I would do is I'd drive right into the ecosystem for Solana, and I'd be looking deep into the ecosystem partners with Solana. I'd be looking for those guys as potential wins, and there's a ton of them there. Just get into your ecosystem, go over to CoinMarketCap, CoinGecko, jump into the ecosystems, and you're going to be able to actually find a lot of these projects. Look at the ones who have had rises, falls, and have a kind of a lateral movement. During this phase right now, if I was looking at that, that's where I'd go with 5K. If I was getting really risky and I was looking for 5X, 10X gains, that's where I'd go. All right, let's go here. All right, Osama Mohand. Why is Bitcoin flying alone? I don't know that it's really flying alone. We saw the Polygon pop. We've seen DOT move this week. We've seen Ethereum move this week. Bitcoin's the leader. It's the alpha dog in the hunt. It's the one where the major capital is moving into. It's also the one where the new capital is moving into, because when your mom or your dad or your grandma or your people in your circle and they ask you, and it's the same thing I say, where do you invest in crypto? What's the first thing? And just go buy some Bitcoin. That's why we're seeing it. So don't worry about that. Bitcoin is going to lead this track to the moon. So I'm not worried about that at all. Let's get into Okay, so Philly DeVeg. This is a good comment right here on BitBoy. And don't tell BitBoy we're talking about him on BitBoy. And he says he still thinks it's going to happen in October. He also said it was going to happen in September, actually mid-September. And he was wrong about that. Not that that's bad. It's who cares, really? Who cares when it happens? The fact, we're referring to XRP settlement. If it happens in October, it's a Halloween surprise, baby. I like that. Nobody's going to hate on that. Everybody's going to love that. If it happens in November, everybody's going to love on that too. That's okay. We're all fine with it. I don't see it happening in October, but hey, I think we should take back the supreme leader, commander of the XRP army. Maybe we should be in control. Maybe it's time for a rebellion in the XRP army. Let's do it. All right, so we've got some super chats coming in today, right up here. Coming over from CryptoX Cyclops. All right, hi Paul, will you please do an analysis video on Proton? Okay, man, I know. Yes, my brother, we are on it. We are gonna get to that, I promise you. And when I promise you on camera, that means it's gotta happen. So definitely gonna get to you, which I think is a very interesting approach to do an analysis on that, to really kind of get an understanding of where this is going for XRP in general. There's just so many other projects that need to be looked at around XRP and will affect the banking system overall. Remember XRP, their core use case is to take out SWIFT. And SWIFT is the ecosystem that moves millions at a time, billions at a time, maybe in some cases, trillions at a time. When you're talking about the major UK and or major applications around the world from, say, G20 nations who are moving massive amounts of money. All right, moving on here. Great to have you back in here. Bob Hayes, XRP will pump when Americans can buy it more easily again. You are true, so true on that, Bob. It is definitely going to take off when we get this in the US. Right now, just a few places to get out there and get it. All right, so we've got an SEC. Okay, here's a good one here. Ryan Prentice, an SEC win will only hurt US investors and cause Ripple to move to Dubai or Singapore. You know, the likelihood is that if we see a bad result from this SEC case with Ripple, it's going to do a lot to hurt cryptocurrency in general. You're going to see a lot of innovation start to move offshore. And we just did a video on this about the US becoming the #1 crypto nation. This is a good thing. We are enlightening people. We're basically leveling the field in terms of poverty. We're giving people, when I say we, meaning crypto, us, the group, the Diamond Circle, the people that are following all these channels on YouTube that are looking for a revolution in the monetary system. This is it. This is the place that it's going to happen. So I definitely think that this will hurt not only Ripple in the sense that they'll simply move offshore, along with many of the other smartest people in the world, best scientists, they're going to move. And guess what's going to happen when that occurs? I've been in the internet business and in technology for 25 years. I was around when the internet was literally born, not when Al Gore invented it, but when it was really born. I have seen and worked for Microsoft in the early days. I have seen us make mistakes at Microsoft that we regretted. And this would be, I think, a massive mistake by the US. And if you have not checked out our video with Congressman Emmer, you got to check out that video because he is on our side and he's definitely one of those guys in DC that understands how big this is in terms of technology and where this is going. So big deal there. All right, so Muhammad Anwar, should we put a stop loss on XRP? Listen, you should put stop losses on everything, man. You need a stop loss all the way up, and even when it's going down, you should be laddering in and out. These are good strategies that I use on a day in, day out basis. And the Diamond Circle, the real Diamond Circle, which is a group of about 50 investors that move big numbers within the real Diamond Circle. We've now moved that on to here. We're trying to get more and more information to you guys, the Diamond Circle, of where that's going. But yes, stop losses are always a good thing. Don't move away from those. All right, so let's see here. What are your thoughts on Miami coin given the mining rewards we'll have? interesting, you know, the Miami coin. I mean, we've got Mayor Suarez right here in our backyard. We're of course a Miami-based network and studio. I like the whole city coin concept. I think it has the opportunity to do some interesting things with where I think the cities and municipalities, one, because there's so many that they need money, they need revenue. And this could open up, being crypto, could open up a lot of opportunity there. If you look at Stacks, which is the driving underlying core technology of the Miami coin, there's some big movement happening there. And I think that might be something that really starts to spread to some other mayors across the country. And there's going to be some mayors looking for opportunities because the next season in terms of, you know, elections, this will most likely be a running and campaign stump that they want to work at, and that is cryptocurrency and blockchain technology for their cities. So lots of questions coming in. All right, so we got OG Crypto. You believe that XRP will be successful over time. If you don't believe in it, then you're in the wrong market with XRP. I would agree with you, OG. The scenario right now, and I'm a big believer in XRP. I just, you know, I know there's a lot of my own diamond circle. They're not invested in XRP. I'm one of the few hands that have held through it and still believe that this has an opportunity to really grow. But because I understand the financial system and how connected and what this means to SWIFT, what this means to central banks and digital currency, there's a lot happening that you and I don't even realize that are going into these back rooms and really making monetary shifts around the planet right now. And I have a feeling that XRP is at that table. So be on the lookout for that one. All right, more questions, and we're going to go to the giveaways. Man, we got to give away some money. All right, Roy Cox, it won't go to trial. The SEC has too much to lose publicly alone. I totally agree with you. This is a settlement, Roy, hands down. This does not go to trial. This is definitely going to be a sentiment out there. All right, let's get in moving. Lots of good questions today, by the way. And thank you so much for your continued, questions, because we like to see those. The comments below, also in our non-live streams and after, if you're viewing this post live. That's the best way for you to communicate with us, because we get ideas. We try to pull tokens. We'll pull strategies out of there that people are trying and doing. And man, you guys are amazing in terms of the things that you're doing. So definitely kudos to you guys. Keep it up out there. Don't forget, you gotta sign up for the Diamond Circle. It's free. It's free. Go over to paulbaronnetwork.com, plug it in. We ask you for a few pieces of information, and the reason is we need this so we can give you an airdrop if you win our digital rewards. We got to be able to contact you, and we got to make sure you're not a scammer. And make sure, as always, in the comments, watch out for the scammers. They hit our network heavy, and they're always out here messing with us. So don't listen or talk to anybody on Telegram. Do not give your wallet out. Do not engage with them. If you see an email or a text message coming from us after an email, then you're going to know. And in some cases, we may even, if for winners, we may even FaceTime call you and see if you want to pick up. But it'll be coming from Paul Barron Network. And if you're getting it from an email, it'll come from revernetworks.com. Remember that address, because that's our studio's mothership. revernetworks.com is the URL that we send all of our emails out there. So that's the way we ensure how all that is happening. I want to jump over to the page here just to advise everybody of how we do this, because we try to have a set of rules. They're very light in terms of the rules that we ask you to abide by, but just, you got to give us let me zoom in on that a little bit here. We need an email and phone number, because we need to know that you're real, and we prefer you to be a YouTube follower and subscriber, and we don't want any scammers in our community. So we're gonna find you. If you're a scammer, we're gonna find you, and we're gonna get you, man. We're gonna get you. We're gonna take you down for sure. We will not contact you through WhatsApp or Telegram at any time. Be aware of these scammers at any time. We will never ask for money from you through those methods. If you buy a course at Paul Barron Network, that's great, perfect. Most of our product within the Diamond Circle is free, so you don't have to pay for anything. You must respond, this is very important, you must respond to a digital asset reward. Hey, we're giving you 48 hours. Okay, we're gonna send you a notice as soon as we find out who you are. We're gonna get your email. We're gonna send you, right after I jump off this set today, I'm going to send out a notice to you guys and say, hey, you've won some digital asset rewards from us. Okay, do not share your wallets. I know you guys don't do that because you're watching this channel and you're much smarter than that. And then all Diamond members, we just ask that you guys kind of keep it clean. You know, we don't want you guys to do anything little nasty out there. Keep it clean. All right, so let's jump over to a thing we've created called the Wheel of Diamonds. Now, the Wheel of Diamonds is a beautiful thing because it's going to give you guys digital assets. Today, we're going to drop 2 winners, $250 each, and we're going to give it to you in Cardano. And the reason, as I said, we've selected Cardano is it is yet to take a move. It hasn't pre-pumped, so you're going to get to ride the staircase up with Cardano, and that $250 maybe is going to be a big deal for you if it 5Xs or if it goes to 20 bucks like some of these people are talking about. Man, that 250 just turned into something much greater than that. Let's get over to the wheel and do a quick spin here on our first cash, or I should say, Cardano digital asset reward back to our Diamond Circle community. And this is our first one. Isn't that kind of cool? We've kind of pulled this in. And it's really turned out really well. I think the guys did a great job on it. Beautiful, beautiful team here we have at PBN. Amazing artist at work, an amazing analyst at work all at the same time. All right, so here we go. It looks like it's about to stop, and boom. Oh, come on. There it is. Charles Russell. There it is. Charles Russell. We have you now. Charles, you're in the house with 250 in Cardano coming your way. So we're going to send a digital asset reward over to you via a wallet address. And of course, we'll get your wallet address in email and get you in to the 250. Let's do it again. I like this. This is fun. Let's do this again. This is awesome. Yeah, giving away money. Giving away money. This feels like Vegas almost, even though it's not. Not Vegas. Don't demonetize our video. All right, so let's go. And here we go. This is fun. We're moving again in here and there. Oh, I thought that was me. No, I like it. All right, so it looks like Lulian Loiso. Awesome, man. We have 2 Diamond Circle winners today for our digital asset reward airdrops. And we're going out to you guys with Cardano. So congrats to both of you for your $250 digital asset rewards from Paul Barron Network. That's what we're going to do. Guess what, guys? We're going to do this a lot. We're going to give away a lot because our community has earned it. You deserve it. Everything that you've done for us in terms of spreading the word, getting this name out, getting our show out there, helping us understand what your trials and tribulations are in crypto. We appreciate that because it's helping us move to the next level in terms of content, analysis, research, and news reporting like no other channel on the internet. That is by far what we are about here. So hopefully you guys are tuned in. Don't forget, if you did catch this and you're not in Diamond Circle, get in now because we're coming back soon. You got 48 hours. We're getting ready to jump off set here in a second. When I move off here, I'm going to go over there. We're going to pull your data right out of the Diamond Circle database. We're going to email it. You've won. And then all we need from you is connect to your wallet and we're going to send you some money. All right, you guys stay safe out there. The big thing here, of course, if you have some ideas, drop them in the comments below. Of course, if you want to hit me up on Twitter, it's @Paul Barron. We'll catch you next time right here on TechPath.